Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Jay Isaac from Blackburn Primary Care. So, this weekend I saw a movie that got me thinking. The movie is The Kingsman, and it's a spy movie, kind of like James Bond. And the villain is played by Samuel L. Jackson, wants to save the planet, which is a good thing. He's a villain because he goes about it the wrong way. So, the way he looks at it is that people are like viruses, and we have infected the planet, and the planet is sick. Global warming is a fever. And the only way to get rid of the infection is to get rid of the virus. And so his solution is to cull people. So that got me thinking about our relationship to our planet, the way we see the relationship of viruses and bacteria and stuff to us. It got me thinking about terms like infection, parasite, etc. And one of the things that occurs to me is that if you really want to think about it that way, we're all parasites. At the end of the day, we're all mooching off of something else, right? I mean, think about cows. We eat their meat, drink their milk, use their hides. What do the cows get out of it? I'm not sure that that there's equal balance there. So really, instead of looking at things very starkly in black and white, what we have to do is look at nature as life, just trying to achieve some kind of balance. Okay? Living organisms jostle one amongst the other, trying to find the best way forward. Now, sometimes for an organism that involves a relationship that is seen as parasitic, but most of the times relationships are symbiotic because it's not in the interest of any organism to knock out its source of resources. So, for example, one of the things I talk about during my office visits is the microbiome. And the microbiome is a biome, an environment in and on and around us that is mutually beneficial. Now, if we didn't have a healthy microbiome, we would not survive or thrive. In fact, a lot of the reasons why things like dementia and autoimmune diseases exist is because we don't have a healthy microbiome. We've disrupted healthy microbiomes by our behavior. And by and large, that's a story of nature. Nature seeks an equilibrium until there's a disruption. And when there's a disruption, there's a new equilibrium. So the virus that causes COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2, had found equilibrium among bats for millions of years. And then we come in with our behaviors, disrupt that equilibrium, and a new equilibrium must be established. And we can call that an infection or a pandemic. In the days before there were hospitals or antibiotics or medical systems, something like this would have washed over populations, and as Samuel L. Jackson put it, culled populations until an equilibrium was achieved, and then would live somewhat in harmony with the organisms that it had interactions with. So, for example, there are 4 coronaviruses that are endemic in humans. They cause colds. So where do they come from? Did they just develop in us? No, this is how these interactions occur. Take, for example, malaria. There are 4 main malarial infections of humans, and the most infamous one is Plasmodium falciparum, which is caused by a protist that is transmitted from human to human through a mosquito vector. Now, where did that come from? Well, the closest relative is found in gorillas in Africa. So perhaps you could theorize that somewhere along the way, our interactions with our primate ancestors created a spillover. Now, that's a very good theory, but is that how it actually happened? We don't know, except in Malaysia, there's a malarial agent, Plasmodium knowlesi, that infects humans but isn't human to human. It's from macaque to human. So I think we're seeing the actual evolution of a spillover. But why is that happening? Because of a disruption. What's the disruption? Humanity is invading into the forests where these macaques and other monkeys live and disrupting their ability to thrive in those places and for the mosquito to find food. So it turns to humans. I wonder if eventually this will become a human to human and then primarily a human endemic. I don't know. But this is an example of how nature works, how nature finds balance. So what is it for us to do? For us, it's about finding balance and minimizing disruptions. And that's about respecting nature and understanding how it all kind of fits in. If we only see ourselves through human-centric eyes, these kind of things will happen over and over again. By these kind of things, I mean pandemics, endemic infections and stuff. So we talked earlier about wet markets and things like, cultural pressures to have wild animals for medicinal or other purposes. Those kind of things are disruptive in nature, and to prevent pandemics, we should get rid of those kind of behavior. Well, what about in places like Africa where we have wet markets with bushmeat, meat that's from wild animals hunted by hunters? Why do they exist? They exist because of poverty. So that's a whole different problem. And because of that problem, you have Ebola endemic. And you may say, well, it's in Africa. Well, where do you think HIV came from? 30 plus million people dead. So problems like poverty and overcrowding are not third world problems. They're problems for everybody. I guess where I'm going with this is a twofold notion. One, we have got to respect, understand, and work cooperatively with nature. Two, we have to take care of our own. If we don't, their problem becomes your problem. Because if you're not paying attention to those kind of issues, overcrowding, poverty, etc., then when something like HIV crosses your borders because nature doesn't respect culture or race or boundaries or borders, it doesn't. Nature doesn't work that way. Then it becomes your problem. We cannot be isolationist in this day and age. So I think it behooves us to look for solutions to mankind's problems and also to coexist with nature. So thank you for listening to me on my little philosophical bent today. And in the future, I'll be bringing you more topics on things like the microbiome and how that can help us become healthier. In the meantime, stay safe, be well. I'll talk to you soon.